Do you ever find real life events a hell of a lot more scarier than some of the fictional stories that you and I have grown to love over the years? You know, the great stories, the movies that we still cherish to this day, like obviously the Halloween franchise, Friday the 13th, The Nightmare on Elm Street, Alfred Hitchcock's, films that I still love and cherish to this very day. But when it comes to real life events, I mean, let's face it, it seems like, and it's quite obvious because of social media, we get to hear and learn. And let's face it, I myself am more frightened by a lot of things that our own eyes get to witness or see more so this day and age. But every once in a while, something that will happen during your lifetime, in this case, something that happened, almost 26 years ago, that I just still to this very day cannot quite shake. You know what? Let me take you to where it all started.
She murdered her 4-year-old daughter in 1995 and is now trying to get out of prison. The parole board denied Jolynn Ritchie's request in 2010, and News Center 7 has just learned she has a new parole hearing in April.
Now, this coverage right here was reported early last year of 2020.
A crying mother.
God, don't hurt her. She's just a baby.
But in 1996, a jury had another name for Jolynn Ritchie. Murderer. She's still in prison for killing her 4-year-old daughter, Samantha Ritchie. And in April, a parole board will take a new look at her case and decide if the state will let her out of prison.
Yeah, on July 18th, 1995, a woman, Jolynn Ritchie, called 911. She called about her 4-year-old daughter, Samantha, claimed that she was missing. Of course, naturally, shortly thereafter, the local media, they went nuts after this. Now, a few days later, the law enforcement, the investigators that found Samantha Ritchie's body, basically about a block away here from her house. All right, here's her house, 809 Herman. We're at the corner of Webster and Herman. Basically, that guy Vernon, he lived right down here. Basically, this house right there. So they end up carrying this little girl's body from that house underneath this overpath, which is State Route 4. And over here, this is this brand new building, which is nice to see that exists, because during the time was that foundry, that pit, which is basically right here.
Dogs found her body in a water-filled pit at the abandoned GHR foundry in Dayton.
Let's just put it this way. Jolynn Ritchie and her boyfriend, Vernon Brooks, were arrested and convicted of various charges involving Samantha Ritchie, her little girl, the 4-year-old girl's death. Yeah, various charges as in murder, abuse of the corpse, tampering with evidence, inducing panic, false alarm.
A judge sentenced her to 22 years to life, and in 2010, the Ohio Parole Board said she would spend at least 10 more years behind bars.
Jolynn had beaten her daughter over the head with a cast. She had a broken arm, and then finished it off with a wrench. Now, I remember this quite well, because like I said, the news, the media, they were going crazy over this. There was, I believe, over 1,500 volunteers looking all over for this little girl. Her neighbor, now this house right here is kind of like a duplex. There's different apartments inside. Her neighbor had told her, the private investigator, or it might have been during the trial, I'm trying to remember exactly, because it's been a long time, that during the time when they were looking for Samantha, all the volunteers, Jolynn had went over and spoken to her neighbor and brought up more or less that the cast that she had removed could have easily be a decent murder weapon, and then she tried to throw it away. Now, thankfully, her neighbor decided something wasn't quite right about what Ritchie had said. You know, she felt uneasy, she felt unnerved, which is understandable. So after Jolynn tried to throw away the cast, her neighbor decided to get the cast out of the garbage, and then she handed it to the police. Now, during the trial, you know, Jolynn claimed that she was innocent, you know, the whole time, naturally. In fact, what's really sick during the trial, and I remember this quite well, she was flirting with the detectives. I mean, during the trial, this woman was flirting with the detectives. Naturally, during the time, people were wondering, you know, when the child was missing before they had found her body about a block away. People were questioning about the father. Denton Ritchie, Samantha's father, you know, you didn't hear much about him during the time. From the beginning, he actually just refused to be a part of the media circus. He was more concerned about actually trying to find his daughter. Meanwhile, during that time, Jolynn, she just basically was drinking all the time with an old boyfriend named Junebug and sleeping. So she was either drinking or sleeping. Now, it was reported that Denton Ritchie collapsed like 2 days after Samantha was reported missing. He was not eating, he was not sleeping. A friend of Denton, he basically reported telling a local news investigator, that maybe when Samantha is found, he could finally get custody of his own daughter. Now, of course, we were always hearing about deadbeat dads. This guy was definitely not one of them. I mean, during the time he was driving a garbage truck for the city of Dayton, and he never missed a child support payment of $313 a month, and that was his only child. Now, he was already divorced twice. When he married Samantha's mother in 1990, about a month before, in other words, he was sent off to the Persian Gulf War, but he married Jolynn a month before. He was a sergeant in the Army Reserves. He was 34 at the time when he had returned home to his wife, Jolynn, and he caught her basically smoking crack cocaine. Of course, naturally at the time, he told her that he wanted a divorce and he wanted his child. Now, here's more fuel to add to this story. The Montgomery County, which Dayton were located in Montgomery County, the domestic relations court records show that Denton Ritchie, he signed a petition to have custody for his child on May 10th of 1995. He claimed that his daughter was abducted by Jolynn and that she tried to take him down to Kentucky, which she was there for 2 years. She claimed that she moved down there to get her life in order. Now, Jolynn, she has already had a track record way before this incident had happened. She'd been arrested multiple times. Oh, another thing too, this house and other places that she lived in, it's been reported even with their neighbors that Jolynn basically, she was a slob. They lived in absolute filth here in this house. Now, I don't know what the problem was with Denton Ritchie. Maybe it's just because he was a man. Anyways, the courts, they awarded custody of Samantha to her own mother on July 11th, 1995, 7 days before she was murdered. Can you believe that? 7 days before she was murdered. Now, right there at the corner where this Vernon Brooks lived, the guy who was sleeping with Jolynn at the time when she murdered her own daughter, he did confess to the police. Basically, he was trying to get a plea to get a smaller sentence. But he did confess, stating that Jolynn did hit her own daughter, killed her daughter with the cast and with the wrench. The investigators, they had enough proof at the time with the DNA and everything else. Every time I drive by this house on State Route 4, which is above, right over here, yeah, it just sickens me. Friends and family basically had planted this tree here for Samantha which is pretty much right across the street where this pit used to be, right over here. But yeah, as you could see, in loving memory of Samantha Ritchie. I remember in 2010 when Jolynn was eligible for parole for the first time. On the news, they were showing family and friends standing over here by this, tree that they had planted in honor for Samantha. Here we go. Samantha R. Ritchie, born September 11th, 1990, and sadly, the world had lost her on July 2nd, 1995. Myself and obviously so many other people, thousands and thousands of people, when they heard about this tragic event, heartbroken, devastated. I mean, it was just, it's just, I can remember when they were showing photos of this little girl. You see it online to this very day. I just couldn't stop staring at her picture. It's just so sad. Now, right here to Samantha's right, our left, as you can very well see, here's a headstone with the last name Ritchie. I'm guessing this is Denton's relatives here, possibly a father or a mother. I'm not quite sure. See, I never knew Denton. I never knew Samantha. But there was someone, unfortunately, that I did know. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But I just wanted to come out here and pay my respects to Samantha. Well, as promised, look, I made it clear there at the end that I never met. In fact, I never had the fortunes to meet Samantha Ritchie and her family, her father. Who knows, maybe someday if he's still around. I don't know, but as I was there, I was doing everything I could to keep one person out of my mind. Shortly after I left, that monster popped right back in. You see that monster? Yes, we grew up in Dayton, and we also went to school together. See, I know Jolynn more as Theresa Jolynn Ritchie. Yeah, her and I both went to Northridge Schooling in Harrison Township, which is in Dayton, Ohio. I remember her, in 8th grade, we had these classes together, and she even threatened to kick my ass then. And look, I wasn't a troublemaker. I tried to avoid it myself. Granted, don't get me wrong, I wasn't innocent. I was a smart ass, but I tried to avoid trouble. But she let's put it this way, when I was watching that trial in 96, holding my son very dearly, I just had flashbacks of Jolynn's personality back when we were kids. And they were not good. She was, in and out of the principal's office. She was always suspended. Hell, she skipped school quite a bit anyways. But as I went on to high school, she wasn't there. She had dropped out in 8th grade. In fact, she had moved out to Arizona. And from what I understand, she couldn't get her life together out there. It is reported that she has had other children before Samantha. And I hope that her children are able to come with peace with what their mother did. They deserve it. It's not their fault. But sadly, well, before I shut up about this case, and I promise to shut up soon, if you are close to this case, in other words, I know in 2010, as they stated in the news, the little report I believe I showed in this video, while I'm going over there because my computer's over there, if there is going to be another petition, obviously that she didn't have her parole last year hearing because of the pandemic, it delayed it, but I would assume that she would have a parole hearing, and if it's still out there, or any time that there's a parole hearing, And there's going to be petitions. I will sign my name on there as well. So in the comments section down below, if, like I said, if you are close to this case, please, please, please share any information that you can. Who knows, maybe other people that are from around here, or even if it could be signed online, who knows. At this day and age, you never know. Because that woman does not deserve to see the light of day. She's, rotting somewhere in Columbus right now? Columbus, Ohio? That prison out there or near Columbus? I don't know. I'm proud to say that I don't know. Okay, well there you go, folks. I'm done with this. I am going to do more videos similar to this. You know, the real life horrifying things that just, it's a part of history. And I've always been fascinated with this stuff. Yes, I love the horror movies, but this stuff here to me is, well, it's just fascinating. And I've been seriously thinking about wanting to do this. I was actually going to do this last year, but with, you know, everything on a lockdown and it was pandemic this, pandemic that. You know, it seemed like you couldn't do anything. Well, like you, we should all get out there and live our lives again, right? So, all right, enough about that. Basically, look forward to me doing more videos similar to this, where I'm out exploring, investigating, God knows what. And I'll still bring out the Halloween stuff every now and then. I mean, you got to mix it up a little bit, right? All right, folks, I'm finally shutting up. Sorry this was so long, but let's face it, there's a lot to say in this video, no doubt about it. Okay, you take good care of yourself and go hug a loved one. Did I say that right? No, I didn't. I'm getting tired. Go hug, not HUD. Go hug a loved one. Good night.